Hello, everybody. Jaya Savannah here, Holistic Business Guru. And today I wanted to do a live training for you on how to outsource tasks on a website called Fiverr.com. Fiverr.com is Fiverr.com. So yesterday I was posting something in my online mastermind group, Guru HQ, which you're welcome to join us there. That's at jayasavannah.com/Guru HQ, and you can submit your name and email, and I'll add you to my group. So yesterday I shared a project that I had done on Fiverr.com. It was a flyer that I needed for a giveaway that I was giving to the NASN. And creating flyers is something that I am capable of doing, and yet it's not in my wheelhouse, especially because I just switched over to a Mac, and so I have still a little bit of a learning curve. Mac is not necessarily easier, by the way. I had to say that. All right, so I switched over to Mac, and so to create this flyer would have taken me many hours because I have a learning curve, and they take me a dinky long time anyway. So what I did was I outsourced that project at Fiverr.com, which is the perfect place to outsource little tasks like that you're either not good at or you don't have time to do, and it's also a super inexpensive place to do it. So here's the thing, when you are a solo especially, I know a lot of you are solo practitioners, and I'm a solo right now too. I haven't even had a VA for a while. I'm kind of overdue to hire one to have, on a full-time basis. But still, for the most part, if you're a solo, you have a fairly simple business, and yet you still can't possibly do everything that needs to be done. So I think it's more important for you to figure out what it is that you should be doing, which is making the decisions and guiding the strategy and figuring out all the pieces, and then outsourcing anything you can to save yourself some time and headache. But the trick with outsourcing is that traditionally, to hire someone to help you with things means you have to spend a pretty good amount of money. Like if you look at hiring a graphic designer, there's not too many that are going to do little odd jobs for you. Or even, website guys, they all want to have some big retainer package where you end up, giving them a pretty sizable project. And unless you have an ongoing need where you're constantly cranking out a lot of materials, those kind of high-end outsourcing services don't necessarily work for you. And that's the kind of place where a service like Fiverr can fit right into your business model. You can just use it as needed. And that's how I use it. I use it fairly frequently, but it's just now and then. And the fact is, I'm pretty capable of doing most of my own stuff. And I do. I don't mind doing it. But this flyer project was not something I wanted to do. So I'm going to give you some explanation about how to use a service like Fiverr, though, because it's also really, really easy to get burned, and I've had that happen too. It kind of goes with the territory. So first of all, basics. I just want to add something real quick here if you're watching. If you could drop a comment below this video to let me know you can hear me okay, that the mic's working and stuff, that would be great. Also, you can type questions down there, and I can read them and answer your questions live. Okay, so Fiverr, F-I-V-E-R-R, there's two R's at the end, and that's a little bit tricky, Fiverr. What that is it's an outsourcing site where there are, I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands, I don't know, there's like a ton of people on Fiverr that are willing to do odd jobs called gigs. That's the Fiverr language for it. They're willing to do gigs. And it's just chock full of people from all over the world. And one thing that's even kind of cool is when you're browsing around different gigs on Fiverr, it tells you the country that people are from. And it's very interesting, very global. You see a lot of people from, Pakistan, India, Philippines, Eastern Europe, all over the place. And how Fiverr started out is their initial round was that they were a place to get $5 tasks done. And I think everything was $5 when they started. And here's the thing, though. Now, where Fiverr's progressed is much better now. the gigs are not just $5, okay? So many of them start at $5. In fact, it might even be a requirement that people have one $5 gig. But for the most part, what they do is they add on premium levels of service called add-ons to the gigs, all right? So a lot of things are $5, and many, many things are much more than $5. It's going to depend on the work that you need done, and it's going to depend on that service provider. It's going to depend on their level of experience and so forth. So it's definitely a good place to get inexpensive work done, primarily because a lot of it is offshore from the U.S., but it's not just $5 gigs. That's a common misperception people have. So here's the thing. When you are outsourcing to anyone, okay, there is one, rule number one, you have to know your own skill set. So, far and away, like if you are not very skilled at creating things like marketing materials, logos, right, who's experienced at creating a logo, right? If you're not experienced, say, with graphic design, the kind of things that you might want to outsource on Fiverr, video editing, photo editing, if you're not already skilled at those things, then you should be prepared to spend more money having someone do that for you. It's just a number one rule of thumb, okay? So if you are low on your skill set, expect to spend more money, or you can spend more of your time learning how to get that skill set. And I got a question popped in from Nakia. What would you look for in a logo designer? Okay, good. That's an excellent question, and I'm going to answer that. Let me go over a couple rules first, though. So first one, know your skill set. Expect to spend more if you have a low skill set. Rule number two on Fiverr, super important, is never work right up against your deadline. Now, Fiverr it requires you to kind of go into it with a bit of a gambler's mind, and the reason for that is there are some amazing people working there that are rock solid, will completely blow your mind and exceed your expectations. That's when Fiverr is really fun. You'll get a gig back, and like the flyer I got done the other day, I spent $10. It was really just $5, but I wanted it in a 24-hour turnaround. So I spent $10, and I got back like a great flyer. It would have taken me 4 hours to create that. And so it totally blew my mind with how good it was. It only needed one little tiny round of revisions. But other times on Fiverr, you'll get a flake who won't deliver the work at all. They'll deliver it late, or they'll deliver you just some crap where you just have to reject it, or it goes into so many revisions that it extends the deadline. It's not going to be done on time because you have to go and really work through a lot of revisions with that person. And sometimes revisions can take, 2 days even for them to get back to you. So rule number two, never work close to your deadline with Fiverr, all right? In other words, don't risk missing a project deadline because you're trying to save money with Fiverr, okay? Make sense? All right. Third rule with Fiverr is you've got to be prepared to manage your project. So again, this kind of goes with what I'm saying about if you have low skills, you need to pay more money. So again, if you want to get a really cheap deal on Fiverr, then you need to be prepared to manage your project. And that is particularly important because a lot of the providers don't have English as their first language. And so if that's the case, you need to think about it and how can you make it easier for them to understand you. So for example, the idea of logos, which I'll cover that specifically in a minute. If you're outsourcing a logo, I don't think it matters if somebody can speak English, right? That's largely a visual design. What matters is if they have design experience and know how to use the software to create it. And there's people all over the world that can create great logos. However, another gig like transcription, which is something I need quite frequently, I have my videos transcribed, I need a perfect English speaker for that, okay? So be prepared to manage your project, and you've got to make it easy for the providers to understand your directions, make them really clear, like things like not to send your provider a huge long block of text instructions with no paragraph breaks. Things like that make it hard for anybody, even English speakers, make it hard for them to read. You want to be prepared with a gig outline, written in a Word document or something, where you have your instructions, bullet points, steps, break it up, because if you want people to succeed at following your instructions, you want to make them really, really easy to understand. Okay, it makes sense, and that's just super important with Fiverr. Okay, so those are your 3 rules. Now, there's quite a few steps that I go through when I want to try to choose a provider on Fiverr, and and part of it is gambling. Once you get a good provider, then it's great. You get a working relationship with that person. I do find that some people have been on Fiverr for years. I have my favorite photo editing guy seems to have been on there forever, and I've watched him grow and progress. Some people start out there and maybe their skill set's too high, or they don't make enough money, and for whatever reason they leave Fiverr, right? They move on to a day job or whatever. So you will sometimes find a great provider and they're not there the next time you need that gig. So you do find yourself kind of looking for new providers frequently. And it's easy to get burned. So that's the gambling state of mind that I said, right? If you're going to try a new provider, you run the risk of getting burned. So I'm going to tell you what I go through when I'm trying to choose someone, and it helps a lot. So let's see here. Okay, so the first thing is when you go to their website, and by the way, I'm going to drop a link in the show notes afterwards. I have a affiliate link, and believe me, I'm not getting rich off of Fiverr referrals, but I think I might get a free gig. But the link that I'm going to drop in the show notes will get you a free gig if you're a new customer. So you might as well use that. I think it's just a $5 gig, but okay. So rule number 1, when you go to Fiverr, their website's pretty easy to browse. They have a good they have a good app as well that you can use on your phone. But when you go to their site, they have all these different categories of gigs that you can get done. So, for example, they have a lot of graphic and design things. I'm looking at my computer. They have a lot of graphic and design categories, tons. That's probably my go-to reason for going to Fiverr in the first place, is I need some kind of graphic work done. And I use PicMonkey. I'm pretty good at that, but I don't use Photoshop, and I hire out for anything complicated. So flyers, posters, illustration, logos, invitations, T-shirts, your social media things like your Facebook page headers, your YouTube backgrounds, all those kind of things are perfect gigs to get done at Fiverr. That's my go-to place for that stuff. And what you'll find is some providers really specialize in a certain type of graphic design work. So if you're looking for a logo, you want to specifically look for a logo provider, not just a Photoshop person, right? When I needed my flyer, I went specifically to a guy that does flyer layout. And, you can also look at a provider's other gigs to see what other things they offer, and that will give you an idea of their skill set. So, if they're not doing the type of work that you want, don't ask for that. Okay. There's a lot of people offering online marketing there, things like really sketchy things, okay? I don't want you to do these things. There's people that will like your page. There's scammers that will get you fake Facebook likes, which are not valuable to you and can get you booted off of Facebook. So there's a ton of them on there. YouTube likes, stuff like that. Stay far, far away from that stuff. A lot of sketchy things. Let's see here. But you can do some stuff like getting some SEO keyword research done. That's a good thing. Who wants to do that? I hate doing that. So you can hire people to do keyword research, things helping to promote your research to help promote your website and stuff. That's really good to get done there. Another big category, which is excellent, is the writing and translation category. So I've hired a really good press release writing guy there. I've hired editors. I've hired transcriptionists. Like I said, I use that a lot. I had someone even review some web page copy I wrote. This guy, that's what he did, and he actually gave me some great feedback because I wanted that second opinion. That was really helpful. So writing, very good on Fiverr. They have a big video category, video editors. I have found some good people for that. And a lot of people will do things like make your intro videos for YouTube. There's a ton of those in there and really inexpensive. Another sketchy thing in the video category is you can buy fake testimonials. Do not do that. God, I even saw someone I know do that. And I know because I recognize the actors' faces from Fiverr. Do not do that. That was so shady. A lot of shady people on Fiverr and a lot of shady people use Fiverr. Okay. What else here? Music. Okay, so this is cool too. There's people that will do, if you have video stuff, there's people on Fiverr that will do little jingles for you and music that is custom, which is pretty cool. A couple of years ago, I hired this lady she was a jingle, she had a jingle gig, and she plays guitar, and it's like this nice folksy stuff. And I had this song that I would sing to my child. His name's Trent, and the song was called Super Trent. And it was a song I kind of just made up, you know, one of those things you do for your kid. And it was like half a song, and I saw a gig on Fiverr where she would do your jingle. And I hired her to take the song I had kind of sung to my kid, and she turned it into a real song. She finished some more lyrics. And man, it's awesome. We listen to it in the car on the iPod a lot, and he loves it. So you can get a lot of fun, crazy gigs on there. So you can get gigs for your business, but also personal stuff, gifts, and crazy things. Okay, programming and tech. I hired a really good tech guy to move my website off of its old domain, which was a custom WordPress theme, which was a headache for me as a problem. It wasn't mobile responsive, and I wanted to have that moved to a new domain. And I'm very techie. I can, you know, kind of create a website, but I didn't know how to do that. I hired a guy on Fiverr I think he's from Pakistan. Fantastic guy, totally awesome, really cheap, nice guy, very, very timely, responsive. You can get some good web guys. Now, you want to be careful with giving out passwords to people, though, on Fiverr, so you have to be careful. But I trusted this guy, and he did a good job. There's also lots of advertising things. My God, it goes on. I don't want to spend all day telling you everything on the website, but those are the key things that I use Fiverr for. Okay, so when you're trying to choose a seller, you can browse by category and kind of drill down to subcategories. And here's one thing that is easy to miss. When you first pull up the search results page, Fiverr has some tabs of results, and the first tab they show you is a category they call recommended. I don't know the algorithm by which they're recommending stuff, but what it seems like to me is they're trying to promote new providers that need work, because remember now, Fiverr makes their money not just from you buying gigs, but they make a percentage of the work being done. So they want to help their sellers, they call them. They want to help their sellers make money. So they promote the new people first sometimes, and what I have found is I just bypass the recommended tab now because it's too much work. I can't tell. The people's portfolios aren't complete. They're new. I just don't know if they're legit. So instead, what I do, I go to the next tab over, which is called high rating. And high rating is someone who's been on Fiverr for a while and they have good reviews, so start there. There's also a tab for just new people. And new people can be fun if you want to try somebody out. Excuse me, I'm having a sip of coffee today. Okay, so from there, what you want to do is look at their portfolio. And this requires some critical thinking skills here. If you have a new provider who has like no reviews yet, and they have a portfolio up, so if they're brand new, you can't really tell too much yet, but you've got to look at the quality of the work. If the work looks too perfect, and I have found this with the logo guy, I made this mistake before. If the work looks too amazing, like, whoa, it's just blowing your hair back, it's so good, and they're new on Fiverr, I would be suspicious. What happened to me one time was I wanted a logo for Sacred Elephants, which is my elephant conservation blog, sacredelephants.com. And so I found this guy had cool work. Well, he just stole his portfolio off of other people's sites on the internet. So it was really great. It wasn't his work, because when I got back the work he did, it was utter garbage. I mean, like really, 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 really bad. And it was so bad, I asked for a refund from Fiverr, and that's pretty rare for me. You want to work with someone who's put time into your gig. You want to help refine it. But anyway, so when you look at their portfolio, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Other than that, they have Fiverr does show you past work, and they will have under the past work a little screenshot of the review that person gave, and so you can you kind of judge for yourself. So definitely look at their portfolio. Let's see here. Also, the other thing you want to do is read their reviews. Now, those can be sketchy too, so also critical thinking skills apply. What I have noticed with some new providers or new-ish providers is I think they're hiring other Fiverrs to leave them good reviews, and you can just sort of tell something seems fake about them. Hey, Greg, good question. I'll ask you that. I'll answer that in a second. So look at the reviews and see if they seem legit. They seem more legit to me when you see a picture of the work that they did with the response under it. Okay, so now the other thing, at that point what you got to do is you're going to look at their gig offer, and they're going to have like their $5 thing, which sometimes is the complete thing. Like the flyer I had done the other day, it was $5 for a flyer. I just wanted a really simple one. But then what the providers do is they have add-ons to your gig. So if I wanted that flyer double-sided, for example, right, or a trifold, like for a brochure or a menu, those things cost extra. So, that's where the gigs start to become a more realistic amount, right? It's going to be more work for them, so you're going to be paying more money. So, prices still totally vary. I think the most I've paid for a Fiverr gig is, I think it was about $40, maybe $45. I needed an Excel spreadsheet done, and it was something really complicated, and I super hate Excel. I mean, I can do really, really basic stuff, but this is like I needed tables and formulas and charts and all this stuff spit out from some data. So I think I paid like $35 or $40 for that, and it was, a complete great value. So look at add-on gigs and expect that you're going to be spending more than $5. Okay, now the other thing you want to look at when you're evaluating a gig, if you're going to buy it, is turnaround time. So rule of thumb, seems obvious, but rule of thumb is that the better a provider is, the more orders they're going to have in queue. And one cool thing Fiverr does is they actually tell you how many other orders are in the queue and the expected turnaround time. In fact, they promise that it will be done by a certain time. So if they're really good, it's going to be anywhere from 3 days to a week wait. Some of the gigs are even longer. So again, goes back to my rule about not working on your deadline. The good people take longer, so build that in. I don't think I said this either. One of the major risks you have with turnaround time on Fiverr is that once in a while you'll get someone that flakes in the process. And I even had someone, I hired a lady to do some editing work she transcribed and edit a video, and she did one gig that was awesome, and she was so excited about working with me. She knew I had, I do these on a regular basis, so I needed ongoing work. She was in the United States. She was a mom. She seemed like really great. She did a perfect first gig, and then the second one, she totally just disappeared. So I paid her. She was excited about it. Nothing. Not a word back. And when I even sent her an email saying, what happened? Are you okay? I thought maybe she was in the hospital. Not a peep back from her. She was just probably embarrassed and disappeared, dropped out. And so I was, I lost like a week waiting for her only to be completely just shut out, no response. So look at their queue, how many people are in their queue, and the deadline of how long their turnaround time is. Tack on extra time for revisions and make your best pick from there. So let's see here. I already think I mentioned checking out what country they're in, language. Does language matter to your gig? And then the next step is if you're going to hire them, you pay for your gig, and then it's up to you to provide detailed instructions for what you for what you want them to do. And that goes back to what I said about being prepared. So, provide very clear instructions. Don't leave it up to them, or if something is up to them, you're not sure, you want them to use their discretion, state that as well. I always provide things that I want control over, such as my brand colors. So you should know your branding colors, what they are, and the hex codes and the RGB codes. I always provide those because I want them to use not just any blue, but my blue or my pink, Provide all those things, and I suggest you also provide all your images. Now, Fiverr has a new feature where you can get a Getty image ordered with your gig. So, for example, if you're doing something like the flyer I had done, there was an option where I can pay maybe an extra $5 or $10, and I could ask that designer to choose an image from the Getty library, and me paying that fee means I would have the copyrights to use that image. So if you don't have access to some kind of a stock image site, you could have Fiverr handle that for you and ask your designer to pick something. I, however, am super controlling around my branding, and so I'll use a cheap outsourcer like Fiverr, but I'm not going to have them pick my image from me, no chance. So I, bought an image off of Deposit Photos. That's one of the main ones I use, and I give that to the designer, right? So you also should provide, your logos and all of that. Give them the tools that they need to produce the work you want, okay? And you can just put all that stuff in a zip file in your project folder with your instructions and take it from there. Now, if you're getting close to your deadline and your seller hasn't responded to you at all, which is unusual, most of them, they give you a courtesy like, hey, looking forward to working with you, kind of thing. If you haven't heard a peep and you're getting close to deadline, pay attention because, it's a potential flake situation. And don't be shy about sending them an extra message. Sometimes I know you might not want to feel intrusive, and so I would just wait. I didn't want to bug them. I know they're busy. But I would get flaked on much more likely. So now if it's getting close to deadline and I haven't heard a peep, I'll send them a quick little message that says, hey, are you working on my project, right? And, if they don't respond to that, it's like red alert, So manage your project. Stay in communication with them. If you ask for revisions, in fact, let's progress there. So most of the people doing graphics and whatnot, they will let you have a certain number of revisions with your gig. Now, some of them, probably the ones that have been burned by bad customers, you have to realize they get burned by cheapskates too. Many of them will have a limit to the number of revisions, and it'll state on the gig description. So read that and know what you're getting into, where it'll be like 2 revisions included. A lot of the newer people on Fiverr that are more hungry for work, they'll have unlimited revisions. And that's usually a sign, unlimited revisions is usually a sign that they're newer and their skills may not be that good yet. And they know that. So they're willing to do the extra work to make you happy with unlimited revisions because they want to get a 5-star review out of you. Just like Yelp or, any of these sites, the sellers really want to only get good reviews. So they're willing to do whatever it takes to make you happy. So, again, factor in revision time and notice how many revisions you get. And then as you are responding to revision requests, and sometimes you'll get a project back which is just great right out the gate, ready to go. The flyer I got back needed just the most little minor tweaks, right? You can have your revisions done right away, but do ask how long the turnaround time is for revisions, because sometimes they'll put you right back in the bottom of the queue if you don't ask. Or if you know you have a deadline, you might need to tell them, hey, I need, one more revision on this, and I need it still by X date. Okay, so that's how to get a great gig. So now I'm going to answer some questions I have here. I got to put my glasses on for this, you guys, because it's really tiny on my phone. Okay, so Nakia wants to know, what would you look for to have a logo designed? Okay, so that kind of depends on your branding, okay? And so I'm not going to go into a whole branding conversation, but I will tell you this. What I really think is the most modern for branding is to do what's called a font-only logo. So you know how a lot of logos, they have some kind of an icon, they call it, a little image, and then they have the font, right? And what I find with the image icons is that a lot of them look cheesy. Okay, they do. They look cheesy, or they're like this clip art that you see everywhere. And if you're trying to do an inexpensive designer on Fiverr, they're going to use the kind of stock cheesy stuff, and it really downplays the quality of your logo. If you want to spend, for example, I have a designer that I've had do some clients' work. She's 12 or 1,600 to do your branding and your logo, right? That's a premium level designer. There's people more expensive than that. She's going to do a logo and an icon that looks cool. But on Fiverr, if you get an icon, it's going to probably look like crap. So a font-only logo, which is what I have, if you look at jayasumata.com, what I love about that is switch to that font-only. It looks really elegant no matter what you do. So what you can do is you can have a logo guy on Fiverr or gal, do a font-only logo. In the show notes, I can drop a link to one I've used before that I liked. It will always look good. And the thing about a font-only logo is you can choose the font yourself. There's free font sites like Google Font and Dafont, DAFONT.com, Squirrel Fonts. There's quite a few free font sites. You can actually go and do a little research and choose a font you like, or have the designer do it. But the other nice thing about a font-only logo is you can overlay it on top of anything else, and it's going to look good. So, for example, let's say you have a Facebook page header, and you have a bunch of, or a website header. You have maybe a photo background to it. If you lay a logo that also has a picture on it, it starts to look busy. Or, let's say you're talking about your social media graphics, same thing. So maybe you're using a photo and you want to overlay your logo on it, and now you've got an image on top of an image, starts to look cluttery. If you do a font-only logo, it's always going to look elegant. So that's my my recommendation on that. Okay, glasses time again, you guys. Let's see here. And okay, so Nakia says, I'm looking to start all over with logo, trying to figure out something to incorporate massage, aesthetics, nursing. Any ideas of where to start branding? So again, font-only logo. Now, it's also going to depend if you're branding your name or a company name. And I just think you should do font-only. I really do. And you have to decide if you're going to do a company name or not. I mean, it depends if you're a DBA. But you can't go wrong with fonts. And, fonts have their own mood to them, right? You can have a whimsical looking style, or elegant, very scripty, all those things kind of tie in with font selection. If you don't know those, then I suggest you ask the logo designer to help you. And if it's a company name, I'm telling you, just skip the icon route. Skip the icon route. I did have one guy on Fiverr do an icon for another company I ran. It's a licensing program I have called inspirationalwebhosting.com. It's the website service I used for like 7 years, and I liked it so much that I became a licensee of them. And I had a guy on Fiverr do a logo for them, but it was really, really clean. So if you're gonna consider an icon, something really clean, but I just think skip it, font only. Okay, now I'm gonna answer Greg's question here. So Greg says, when you say it's $5 or $10, let's say you get a logo done, so they charge you more if you decide to use it, or if you get a book design, can you be charged more for commercial use? Okay, awesome question. Yeah, and that can be tricky with other designers. One thing, this is a rant. One thing that super pisses me off is that this is so sketchy as hell, it makes me, steam could come out my ears. I have seen logo designers, not on Fiverr, I have seen logo designers want to charge you like way more for commercial use. It's like, how does that make sense? A logo is commercial use, right? Insane. Or they have in their contract a thing about how they own the copyright. It's like, get your hands off the work I hired you to do, okay? So your question is good, because you do have to check out what are the terms that someone is doing work for you. policy at Fiverr is that all of the work is considered work for hire. They're not allowed to retain copyright. It's work for hire, which is a legal, a legal way of describing the fact that you are paying them to do the work, and then when they are done with the work, you own the work. And that's considered the default on Fiverr. They're not allowed to cheat on that. There are a couple people I see sometimes on there that in their gig add-ons will have a checkbox and an extra fee for you to own the commercial rights. So in that case, what they are telling you is that they don't go by the default setting in Fiverr of work for hire, and that you actually have to pay more for that. And you have to decide if working with that person is worth it to you. It kind of pisses me off personally. That's not cool for me. The other part of your question is, okay, so what about things like a book design? Okay, this is important too. So generally speaking, with licensing for photos or work that you have created, things, maybe you wrote an ebook, you have someone write part of it for you, or if you want to, for example, what I do a lot is I need to get stock photos and I put those in my PowerPoint slides, and then those PowerPoint slides end up in a paid program, or they end up on stage somewhere where people are paying a ticket to get in the door and to watch my content. And those things are all considered commercial use. Okay, now some licensing doesn't allow you to resell that content. So I know this is a little bit out there, but let me explain. I needed a PowerPoint design done last year for a program I was creating, Clients in Cash, clientsincash.com. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to hire out and get a cool PowerPoint template done because that takes me forever to do. And I found one on the site, what's the name of it? Envato, E-N-V-A-T-O, Envato. And they have a site called Digital River where there's a ton of gorgeous, gorgeous PowerPoint templates that people sell. And so the template I found that I really liked was $27 maybe for commercial use, but that did not include use at things where I get paid. So they said I could use it for commercial use, meaning I could teach a free class with it, use it, anything I do that's free, that's for my business, but I could not use it in my slideshow for my paid course, and I could not use it on the stage at an event where people are paying money, a ticket price to get in, even if it's not my event. So like if I'm speaking at an organization's event, sorry, my battery's getting low. I couldn't charge, I couldn't use those slides at anything where someone's paying any amount of money to view the content. And in that case, I had to pay $180 for my template, which is still worth it to me because, a paid course, I'm making money on that, okay? So you do want to check the terms. Generally speaking with Fiverr, again, the default rule is that you can use it in your commercial things, and you can even do things like user designs for T-shirts with Fiverr. In fact, there's a whole section if you want to get into doing cool T-shirt designs and sell them on Teespring, or Amazon has a new T-shirt print-on-demand service. You could, make money off of T-shirts. You can hire someone on Fiverr to take your idea, design it, and then you could resell that product. So just read the terms. All right, that was a crash course on Fiverr. I guess I'll just close with two more things. Hey, Nisha, just got out of church. I know, Sunday morning, right? Here in the U.S. anyway. I'm glad you could join us. So I'll say a couple more things. Again, I'll remind you, I'll post some show notes with a link where you can get a free Fiverr gig for a free $5 gig. If you're a new customer, I'll post my affiliate link so you can get that in the comments. And one other thing, sometimes Fiverr is just a little too low end for what you want done, or you don't feel like dinking around, because it just can be that way. So one of the last times when I wanted to have a logo done, depends what it is. I mean, I had my Sacred Elephants logo done there, and that was cool because it's not a big money maker for me. It's not a money maker. It's something I do for love. But when I wanted a professional logo done for a product I created, I did not go to Fiverr for that one. I went to a site called peopleperhour.com, people per hour. And people per hour is like Fiverr, but it's a little more high end. You're going to get, it's more expensive, and you're going to get, kind of a higher level of provider there. So I paid on people per hour, still really cheap. I think I paid $150 for my logo there. And the thing about that was the person, the agency, they took me through a whole branding questionnaire, which you're not going to get that on Fiverr. On Fiverr, you've got to provide the info for them. But the People Per Hour agency took me through, a branding questionnaire because they really wanted to know, things about my brand so they could design the right logo. And then they also provided all the different permutations you might want. So, a PNG version where it's on transparent background, which is, by the way, logos. Question, Nakia, the version of your logo you're going to use more than any other version is your logo on a transparent background. It's a .png file, okay? You will use, you might, need vector versions of your logo. In fact, you should have a vector version. Vector means it can only be opened in Photoshop or like Adobe Illustrator. But vector means your logo can be stretched out to any size. So like, for example, if you're doing like a fair or a trade show booth and you need to have one of those big banners printed, you'll need a vector logo they can make big without it losing any quality. So if you're going to do those things, you need a vector logo. But the one you will use on a daily basis, I'm always creating some kind of, online graphics, is one on a PNG transparent background. And that's a logo that you can then overlay on top of solid backgrounds or on top of images. So make sure you always get a PNG. Also, too, you might want to have them create a shadowed version of a PNG. So like with my logo, there's 3 that I use the most. I have a all-white version, which is my primary one. I typically put my logo over a colored background of some kind or on top of a photo. I have another version which is white but with a shadow background, because sometimes when you're overlaying on top of another image, you need that shadow to make it readable, okay? And then I have an all charcoal version. And I even got away from using colors in my logo because I found that sometimes they clash with what I lay it on. So I just do a dark version, a light version, and a white with a shadow version, and that works really well for me. It serves every purpose. Okay, so people per hour, to spend a little bit more, like $150 I think I spent. But I got the vector version, I got all those other versions, and it was a good deal with a lot less going back and forth. So people per hour is great. That's also where I found Peter Mahoney, who is my SEO guy, and he totally knows his stuff. I think I paid around $150 for him to set up all the SEO on my site. And again, that's something I can do. I've done that before, but it just is not the best use of my time. And he knows his stuff. He did a great job. I felt like that was super cheap, and he was from People Per Hour. I'll post a link in the show notes with a 20% off link where if you're a new customer and you want to try them, you can get a gig from them. Okay, so another question. Did you say you were going to put your recommendations in Note for the font-only logo? Yeah, thanks for reminding me. There's a guy on Fiverr. I'll put his specific link. And for anybody here that's a member of Guru HQ, or if you're a member of my Clients and Cash program, I want to remind you that you have access to my resources page. So if you're in Clients and Cash, it's in the login area. And if you are a member of Guru HQ, I would have emailed you a link if you joined the email list for Guru HQ. And my resources page is something I maintain, and it has not just all my favorite Fiverr providers, which I'm going to add this flyer guide to that list, but it has like all my services I use. And I'm kind of a resource hoarder. And I really like to share resources. Anyway, if you are a member of either one of those places, you have access to my full resources page, and I think I suggest to remind you of that to take a look. And if you are not a member of Guru HQ yet and you want access to my resource page, you can join my mastermind group at jayasavannah.com/GuruHQ. And then once you put in your email address, it will give you a link to join the mastermind, and I'll email you a link to my resources page. So, all right, I hope that was helpful, and good luck with your outsourcing. If you have any additional questions, just go ahead and pop them under this video, and I will get some show notes with some links down there in a minute. All right, everybody, have an awesome day. Bye.